Major League Baseball is chock full of stories about players changing positions. A-Rod moving to third because of Jeter. Rick Ankiel getting the yips and becoming a position player. And Kenley Jansen not being able to hit as a catcher and then becoming one of the best closers of all time. Players are constantly reinventing themselves in a never-ending fight against irrelevancy. You'll do anything it takes to stay in the big leagues, even if it means changing something you've done your entire life. Now, this isn't a new phenomenon, but in the past couple years we've seen some notable players making the switch from shortstop to outfield. These are guys like Fernando Tatis Jr., Jazz Chisholm, Jackson Merrill, and most recently, O'Neal Cruz. Each player was moved because their organization felt it would optimize their team's roster. Keep in mind that this doesn't necessarily mean they couldn't stick it at shortstop. Like in Jackson Merrill's case, he didn't even get the chance to play short in the big leagues because the Padres already had 2 good ones on their roster. Actually 3 if you count Tatis. The move rather reflected the player's exceptional athleticism and malleability as a pro. Obviously, if they were all Lindor types at short, then they wouldn't be moved at all. But they each have that lanky, fast-twitch profile that screams outfield. And it makes it all the more crazy to find out that they were not only surviving in the outfield, but actually thriving. Since the move to right field in 2023, Tatis has won a Gold Glove and put up 9 outs above average, which ranks second among right fielders in that time. Having not played a single inning in center field in his 3 years in the minors, Jackson Merrill just capped off his rookie season looking like prime Kevin Kiermaier. Jazz Chisholm was sort of unorthodox in his early days as a center fielder, but he picked it up quickly and is now sort of becoming a weapon defensively, as he can play center, second, and third at a high level. And then there's O'Neal Cruz, who had the unfortunate task of picking up a brand new position in the middle of the season. And wouldn't you know it, the dude adjusted flawlessly and even made a 5-star catch to show for it. But there's one player who is yet to make the move. A man who is lurking in the shadows, both literally at the roulette table and figuratively as a professional baseball player. A man who is begging to be saved from a career of booted balls, overthrows, and betting on black. A man who is the worst shortstop in baseball. At negative 34 outs above average, CJ Abrams ranks dead last in shortstop defense since 2020. The tough thing about that stat is that he's only been in the league since 2022. After getting traded to the Nationals in a mega blockbuster deal, headlined by relatively unknown outfielder Juan Soto, Abrams immediately became the face of the franchise. In the midst of a full rebuild, the Nationals chose to take a set-it-and-forget-it development approach with Abrams, which meant he was going to be penciled into the lineup each and every day at shortstop. From an offensive perspective, this plan worked out relatively well. At 24 years old, Abrams is an average major league hitter who possesses an additional ability to wreck a game on the base paths. Assuming a defensive level of competence, that's a player that is very difficult to come by, and one that gets paid handsomely in the open market. The issue is that we cannot assume a level of defensive competence with Abrams. Far from it. The frustrating thing about evaluating CJ Abrams at shortstop is that there are really no redeeming qualities. It's not like you can say, okay, well, he struggles with the slow rollers, but he's great up the middle, and he's great in the hole. Such is the case with Willy Adames, who has a weakness with fielding balls to his left, but is solid everywhere else. But with Abrams, there's no bright spot. He's just sort of bad at all of it, which leads us to the inevitable question. Do you move him off of short? And if so, where do you move him? I think the answer is yes, you do move him. But the question of where becomes a bit tricky. The best place to test him would be center field, but the Nationals just so happen to have one of the best defensive center fielders in the game already on their roster in Jacob Young, so that's probably out of the question. And right now, Fangraphs is projecting former first-round pick and cousin of Terry Crews, Dylan Crews, to start in right field for the Nats, so that's not an option either. This leaves us with left field, a position currently held down with popsicle sticks and glue by Alex Call. That seems to be the choice. Obviously, we can't know for sure if he'll be good in the outfield. I think with his athleticism and speed, it's a decent bet he'll at least be okay. But we know that he's not good at short. And even with defensive metrics being volatile, I wouldn't ever count on him being above average there. So again, the decision comes down to roster optimization. Would you rather have Alex Collin left and CJ Abrams at short, or CJ Abrams in left and a Jose Iglesias type at short? Probably the latter, but I guess we'll see.